Welcome to Rewired Mind, a podcast about inspiration and change. From thought leaders, business owners, authors, and more. Success stories about going against the odds and making a difference for themselves and others.
It's all good, man. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
It's my honor.
Cool. So I know you read a ton.
I love to read.
So Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Amazing book.
One of my favorites. Says you have to work the hardest for what you love the most.
Amen.
Pretty sure what you love the most has changed since you started doing what you do for a living, which is
yes, it has.
Why you wrote Ruthless.
Frankly, yep.
So tell me about that. What is that shift?
Well, I have to go back a little ways. So I was raised by parents who were all about helping other people. And they taught me to love and serve and give and help and be selfless. The problem is that we were damn broke. And I didn't like being broke. And so for me, I associated helping other people with going broke. And so early on, I remember being in 7th grade and just thinking, this sucks. Like all these other kids have all this cool stuff and I don't have anything. And my parents drive a crappy car and we live in a trailer literally down by the river. And I don't want this. I want something better. And so early in my mind, at a young age, I decided I wanted to be successful financially. So I got into UCLA and that was a huge honor. And I was going to be an attorney. My favorite professor talked me out of it. And he said, Jonathan, you'd hate being an attorney. Of course, at this point, I was already at the end of my junior year and there was no way in hell I was going to go back to school more. So I said, well, what do you think I should do? And he said, you should do something more entrepreneurial. Because I wanted to be an attorney because I thought attorney made a lot of money. And I said, well, I don't even know what entrepreneurial means. What do you mean? He said, do something more people-oriented. So a buddy of mine goes, hey, you should do commercial real estate. You want your own private jet someday? And the absurd idea that little old Jonathan Kaiser could have, a private jet of his own someday was extraordinarily motivating for me. So I remember I called, I'd gotten this letter in the mail from a commercial real estate firm. Called him up. I said, I'd like to come interview. I remember driving down there all suited up in my car that wasn't so nice, let's just say that. But I looked good in my, cheap suit. And I pulled in the parking lot, and that was the first sign. They were nice BMWs and Mercedes, and I'm like, yes, I like this already. I walk in, it's a beautiful office building. I look around and I'm thinking, yeah, I could work in this. And then I see these handsome dudes in suits, and I go and I interview with this one guy, and picture on his desk, he's got this stunningly beautiful wife and this beautiful family, and there's some ridiculous background like Telluride or something. And I'm like, I want this life. So I get into commercial real estate because I figure this is the path for me to get rich and not be poor like I grew up. And as I got into commercial real estate, I realized really quickly, wow, this is a ruthless, cutthroat industry. And I saw behavior that fundamentally was misaligned with my core values. But unfortunately, at the time, I cared more about making money than I cared about doing the right thing. So I became ruthless. And I thought that's what it took to be successful. And I thought, all right, if this is what it takes, I'm going to do what it takes. I'm going to be rich. So I, kind of a little bit of an overachiever. I became the more ruthless than most. And I did okay, but I was miserable. And I felt trapped. I hated who I felt like I had to be. I hated the stuff I was doing, living out of integrity. But I felt like this is what I needed to do to survive. And then 15 years ago, I went to this conference, and this guy gets up, and he starts speaking about something I'd never heard of, which is success through service, success by helping others succeed. And I was just dumbfounded. At first, I'm like, there's no way. This guy's full of crap. I go up afterwards, and I go, is that really true? You really are successful, and all you do is help other people. Because it sounded kind of like my parents. But obviously, that didn't work because my parents are poor. So he goes, yeah, this is how it works. And I said, well, how do you do it? And he said, well, think of it like farming versus hunting, right? Right now you're hunting, Jonathan, and so you take your gun off the shelf, you go shoot a piece of a game, and you skin it, clean it, eat it, go back out and do it the next day. This is like planting seeds. Think of it like citrus trees, right? I have a citrus tree in my backyard here in Arizona, and when it was a baby, that thing, I didn't even think it was going to survive. Now today, the thing's almost a nuisance. I get so many lemons off that thing. And he goes, that's what it's like. It's like you invest in these relationships, you nurture them, you water them, you serve them, you help them, and over the long run, you become successful. And I said, still the skeptic me, I said, if that's really true, then how come nobody else is doing it? Because I interview a lot of successful people trying to pick their brain and read a lot of books. I've never heard of this. He said, because it takes so long. Like, if you want to reinvent yourself, Jonathan, it's going to take you 5 years of just serving the community, helping other people before you see any real, tangible benefits, before people appreciate you enough to refer meaningful business to you. So in that moment, I felt compelled. I felt like, wow, if this is even possible, if I could do things the way that are aligned with my core values and I could actually be successful, that'd be amazing. So I came home to Arizona, threw my business plan away of just selling, and just got involved in the community and started serving everybody that I could. And it was a long, hard road. I mean, he wasn't wrong when he said it would take me about 5 years. It took me about 4.5 years until I really started getting my first big referrals. And then it just took off, and it became so exciting. Like, a lot of people thought I was nuts, right? And it was a long, hard road, not just because I was making no money and helping people for free, but because people were criticizing me and people thought I was out of my mind. But it was just like, I just kept the faith. I believed. I could feel it working. I could feel the relationships developing. I could feel people appreciating what I was doing. Part of it was I was kind of learning on the go because I didn't really know what to do. So part of the transition for me that went from not successful to successful in it was I had to have a change of heart, where instead of trying to manipulate or game the system, I actually just loved and served people for the sake of loving and serving people. And that's really, once I fell in love with service and I really just let go and stopped keeping track, that's when it really took off. And that was, it took off in like 2009. And then and I had just record years. And then in 2012, I had this epiphany where I realized that what I was doing was bigger than me. It was bigger than my team. It was being constrained by the confines of a traditional firm. And I felt compelled to create my own firm and focus on creating a firm that was everything that the other firms weren't. That was a firm focused on service and teaching other people how to create this success for themselves. And, it's been an extraordinary run, and we're still just getting started. But today we're the largest firm of our kind in the state and one of the faster growing in the country. And it's all a testament to this idea of, it's not because of me that this occurred, even though I've been involved. It's all the people that appreciate how my team serves them that then serves us back.
Right.
And it's just such a cool thing. It's like instead of spending our time selling, we're spending our time serving. So long way around to answer your question. Yeah, I used to be a ruthless prick, and what mattered to me was making money. And now, what's funny is when all I cared about was me and making money, it was actually hard to make money. It was scratching and clawing all the time, looking over my shoulder. Now, today, all I do is try to help as many people as possible, and money comes in. It's the coolest thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned core values a few times there. Did your core values change, or did you just recognize that the core values that you had were not being fulfilled when you were doing it the other way?
That's a great question, Alan. I think for me, I always knew what my core values were. Do the right thing, take care of people, help others. I just didn't believe there was a path to greatness doing it. And greatness in my mind was not Mother Teresa, In my mind, I wanted to be like Bill Gates, right? I wanted to be rich, and I wanted to have all the stuff. But as I went through the process, I realized how unfulfilling that is, and how it sucks to lay down and hate yourself at night and not like who you've become. So yeah, today it's like I pinched myself. It's an extraordinary experience to let go of yourself and just try to help as many people as possible, because then they in turn try to help you back or help you first. And it's just this cool combination of everybody, it's not like we're dumb. We understand that I believe that the more that you give, the more you get. That's been true across every philosophy across time.
Yeah.
So this is a very strategic thing for me. It's not just like I don't just stand on the street corner and just ask everybody how I can help them. We're very strategic about who we help. We only have limited time, but everybody that we interact with, our goal is how can we help versus what can we get. And that is the fundamental difference. When you boil it all down, that's the fundamental difference between us and everybody else.
Got it.
And our core values guide that.
So you talk about you don't have to be ruthless to win. You talk about the 3 levels of selfless reinvention. I have to imagine that when you create this mindset in yourself of being selfless, that there is a drain on your time. And you said you are very strategic about how you use that time. But there has to be an immediate drain of, if we're really going to help, we're really going to help. So more people are asking for you, for your involvement. How do you balance that with your family? How do you balance that with, all the other things that life throws at you while still committing to that goal?
Man, you have good questions, especially for your first podcast.
I try.
Man, zingers. It's real simple. I mean, at the end of the day, it gets to the heart of the matter. For me, I live a very imbalanced life intentionally. I don't believe in balance. I think balance is a bunch of nonsense. Right? Whoever said, go be mediocre at 100 things instead of being great at 3? Not me. So for me, I'm very, very passionate about my family. I'm very, very passionate about my company. And I'm very, very passionate about my health. And outside of that, it's kind of like, sure, if I have time. So the other thing that I would say, so that's kind of point number 1. The second thing I would say is, I don't believe in a segmented life, or a bifurcated life might be another way to say it. I believe in everything being woven together, right? So I don't really ever know when I'm working or when I'm playing or when I'm, it's just all the same. It's just life.
Yeah.
It's all integrated. My family's integrated in my company's integrated in my health. Everything's together. And so every day I just get up and I just do my very best at everything I do. And some days it's not very good and other days it's great, and usually it's somewhere in between. And everything is about attempting to find mastery in everything that I do. That whole Outliers book, which talks about 10,000 hours. I've had 20,000 hours, maybe 30,000 hours in success and business and sales and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot that's packed into my little head at this point. And I think it'd be a shame if I didn't maximize that. So the short answer is you have to be willing to say no. I say no a lot. One of the things that I tell people all the time is service has to be a choice. I've had people come to me and go, hey, you're the service guy, help me out. I'll be like, no. Not even because I may or may not want to help the person, but because I'm never going to be told who I have to serve. As soon as somebody tells me what I have to do, it's no longer an act of service. It's an obligation. It's a job. It's like your parents telling you to go take out the trash. It's like, no, I'm going to help people on my choosing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the only way we've been able to create the level of success that we have is because I have an incredible team. I have 50 some people here at Kaiser today that all are living that, and they're all acting through the lens of service. And so the reality is that today, not a lot of people get personal service from me. So I got to be very thoughtful. For me, my most important priority now is serving my team. That has to be my priority, serving them, because they're the ones that are then serving the other folks.
Right.
So start with no. Be very mindful about your time. Don't be afraid to decline opportunities. And at the end of the day, look for the highest impact opportunities. Try to serve those folks that'll have the highest impact. And if that's your focus, you won't be consumed with a lot of the neediness that comes with a person of service. A lot of people are consumed by others who have a taker mindset. And if somebody's willing to give, they'll just take. You have to be very thoughtful and intentional about what you're doing, your acts of service, so that you can make sure that you're maximizing your impact.
Got it. So you talk about your team,
Yep.
and I'm in the staffing world. I provide people to organizations all the time. How do you identify people that easily either adopt or already come in predisposed with that selfless mindset?
Well, first of all, you're way too humble. You're a badass at what you do. So I'm constantly learning from you in that sense on the recruiting side. But one of the things that we've done is be over the top with our messaging. So in my book, You Don't Have to Be Ruthless to Win, that just came out, the subtitle is The Art of Badass Selfless Service. And it's like, if you read my book, it's designed to be a sorter. It's designed to sort you into this guy's nuts, I want nothing to do with him, or, oh my gosh, I have to engage. And so that's the first part. And we've done that from the very beginning. When I first hit send on our website, I remember sitting there hovering over it was January of 2013, and I had the final Kaiser website ready to go live. And they were just waiting for my approval. And I had approved, typed, and I had my finger over the send button, and all of a sudden this thought hits me. It's like, you know what? You should read it one more time, word after word. So I sat down in a quiet place. It took me about an hour, and I read every word thoughtfully, including like the bios and the why Kaisers and the endorsements. And I remember thinking, we are going to get mocked. Like, here I am in arguably one of the most cutthroat businesses in the world, and I'm talking about love and service and helping others, and I'm like, screw it. That's who we are, send. And so it's been this amazing thing where it acts as a magnetic force where it attracts the right people and repels the others. So that's point number one. All of your questions are deep questions, so I can't just answer them in a simple thing. So the first thing is put out clear messaging so that you attract the right and reject the wrong. Second thing is you have to be very intuitive, especially as you scale, as to whether these people are just saying the right things or whether they're really wired that way. We do interviewing as a team, so everybody at the company has the chance to sit with any potential new broker or advisor and look them in the eyes and decide for themselves. And we've had situations where 95% of the office, including me, was saying yes, and one or two brave souls said, I don't think they're us. So we could be 2 to 3 times the amount of the size we are today if we said yes to everybody. So we're very careful that way. Third is, and I think this is probably the most important because this makes sure that it continues, you have to have accountability within your organization, and everybody has to own it. Everybody has to take it seriously. You know, we have 15 core operating principles. We read those every session. We talk about them. I hold myself accountable to them at the end of each day. I send out an email saying, here's where I was, the principles, here's where I wasn't. It's our responsibility as leaders to be vulnerable and express where we are not what we say we strive to be. I'm the farthest thing from being perfect, but it's that transparency, that vulnerability that enables others to say, hey, Bill, you didn't do that right. That's not the Kaiser way, and for them to be receptive to that, right? And so it's this culture of we care about this so much, we're not going to let somebody poison it, and standing up for it. And it's everybody from the brand new intern from Grand Canyon that started 2 days ago to the most senior people here.
Got it. So you talk about, you just mentioned your core principles, and one of those core principles kind of flies in the face of another one of my favorite books, which is called The Alliance, by Reid Hoffman, Chris Ye, Ben Casanoka. And what they mention in that book is, very specifically, don't call your employees family. Because when you call your employees family, how are you going to fire Uncle Ted? But in your core principles, you say treat your employees as family. So I'm curious, I assume, and I don't know this to be the case, but I assume you've had to fire people.
I have.
How do you fire people if they're family?
So I read that book, and I read that line, and I respect that author, and I fundamentally disagree. And I'm not right. I'm just saying, for me, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think you do it in a very loving and kind way, and I've made mistakes in that regard in the past too.
Yeah.
I've listened to HR handbooks that say, here's how you get rid of somebody, and I felt like crap about it, and I called them later and I said, I really dropped the ball on that one. Sorry about how I did that. If I could go back in time, I'd do it differently, but I can't, so I'm just calling you to say I'm sorry.
Right.
So I think that's the first part. At the end of the day, if you're not treating your people like family, you're not going to get and keep the best people. So just like if you had a brother that was constantly doing things that could get your family in trouble, right? If you had a brother that was doing crack cocaine in your house when you had him over for a reunion, you probably wouldn't invite your brother over, right? That doesn't mean you don't love your brother. It just means that you can't, you have to protect the organization. The organization and its culture is more important than any one player. So in other words, if I became the poison, you better hope that they'd remove me, right? Because the mission's more important. So for me, fundamentally, it's like you treat everybody like family. When people join here, I say, welcome to the family. If somebody messes with you, they're messing with me. And I'm not somebody you want to mess with. And they get it, right? They get that I'm serious about it. Like, I really care. And sometimes caring means saying, this is just not the right fit. Let's help you find the right fit. I've helped people transition into roles, and they're ecstatic. I've had people leave, and you still talk. Some of my greatest fans are people that used to work here, and I helped them get to the next spot. I mean, not everyone. Some people weren't happy about that, but you got to make the right decision for the organization, and sometimes they may be great people, they may have great intentions, but it's just not the right fit. And if you don't have a healthy organization, nothing works, and you're not going to accomplish your mission, so you have to focus on that first. And you have to protect the people all the other people that are here too.
Right. How quickly would you say you're able to determine when somebody joins the firm, how fast is it apparent that they're either part of the Kaiser family or should not have been hired?
Pretty fast.
Okay.
But I learned a lesson in that one too early on, because I was this optimistic kid that said, I can show them the better way. So I tried rehabilitating a couple people, and that didn't work very well.
Yeah.
So now it's like, as soon as we figure out they're not a fit, get rid of them.
Yeah. So, you don't have to be ruthless to win. What are some things that you would say are either the calls to action for fellow entrepreneurs, or the things that you really want your audience or your readers to take away from that book and say, I need to implement this immediately in my organization?
Yeah, great question. I think a couple things. Number one, I wrote the book so that people would see it's even possible. If I didn't have the individual who made me even aware of this philosophy, I wouldn't be here today. So, and the only reason I was willing to do it is because I had at least one other person saying it's possible. So this book is designed to say, I don't write I do a short version of my story. I don't do that because I'm trying to write an autobiography. I do that because I want people to see, wow, okay, this guy actually really did this, and this is the real story about how he did it. And then in the book, we talk about exactly how we created a culture of service. And so the whole point of the book is to give everyone everything they need. As a reader, you buy this book and you really read it, and I give you everything you need to create a selfless culture for yourself. And that's the point. It's like showing people it's possible in the first small story section, and then telling you everything you need to know on how to do it for yourself, and then challenging you to do it. And that's the vision. I have 3 target audiences for the book. Number 1 is other commercial real estate brokers who are sick and tired of the culture within the organizations they're in. They're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. They're sick of looking over their shoulders, and they wish there was a better way. So now we do. We have a company that's focused on being $1 billion game-changing organization that's focused on national expansion. And for those of the listeners and others that that read the book, that's an opportunity, and we'd love to talk to you. Second one is companies that are sick and tired of having conflicted and ruthless representation on the real estate side.
Right.
Obviously, we'd love to talk to them. And then the third is organizational leaders or organizations, teams of leaders within organizations that want to create a culture of selfless service for themselves. And that's why we have the Kaiser Institute to train, empower, and then ultimately certify individuals and organizations around creating a selfless service culture. And we have tons of free resources on ruthlessbook.com that you can tap into to help you with that journey yourself. But at the end of the day, it's fundamentally about showing the world that, wow, if this crazy guy, Jonathan Kaiser, can do this in an industry as ruthless as commercial real estate brokerage, maybe I can do it myself. And if I feel like I'd like to, how do I do that?
Yeah.
So it's this, my whole life's in this book, Alan. Like this was a book that I've been writing for 7 years, and with a lot of stops and starts, and it just never was the way I like it. And finally, Robin to the rescue, my gal Robin, who helped me. She's the one that came up with the words and the 3 levels of reinvention that I was doing, but I hadn't put a framework around.
Sure.
And she helped me get the book to the completion, and now I just love it. I think it's exactly what I hoped it would be and more. And so, I'm not trying to be an author, and it's amazing that we're already Amazon #1 in like 6 different categories already. I can't even believe it. It's surreal to me, because originally when I started this firm, I thought there's only going to be a few people that actually, everybody's going to think I'm nuts, but there'll be a few people that like, and that's all I need is a few. I actually found it to be the opposite. Like, most people really resonate with this message. I think most people fundamentally get that business in general is broken. That's why I love the conscious capitalism movement. John Mackey is a personal friend, and what a visionary to be able to create that and build a global organization around doing good in business. So it's a neat thing to be sitting here. And a lot of people, like my coach will tell me, he'll say, yeah, you're the overnight success in 20 years. And that's kind of how it feels, right? There's no overnight success here, but it's neat to be on the other side and to be able to have the platform and the credibility to share this message with the world.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned a couple names already, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about those people that really helped you codify all of this and bring all this to bear.
Yeah.
And I know your coach is one of them. I know Keith Ferrazzi is one of them.
Keith's a huge friend.
Yeah.
I mean, for that guy, that guy's a stud. And he was a stud well before I ever even was on the radar. That guy took me under his wing, helped me, gave me a quote from my book before it was even done, and then just recently just promoted it to his entire audience. He didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Same with John Mackey and all the friends at Conscious Capitalism. Same with my buddy John Rulin, who wrote Giftology. If you haven't read Giftology, buy that one before you buy my book. An amazing book, and he's an amazing guy. The person I thank the most, though, is my wife, because she has changed my life, and she has given me more joy and contentment and peace, and I'm very grateful for her. And I love being a dad, and that's what really matters to me. It's like, my kids are the best, Jonathan, Ulysses, Finnegan, and London, and they are just awesome, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, that's what really lights me up.
Yeah.
And then I love everybody here at Kaiser, because without them we wouldn't even be here. And they believed in this. A lot of them believed in this from the early stages, before it was even anything that looked worth believing in. And I got the world's greatest team, and I'm so honored to have them. And my coach, Steve Hardison, who has literally changed my life and helped me realize what's possible, and helped me. It was scary for me to leave my old firm. I was a $1 million producer,
Sure.
right? It's like leaving that to go into the great unknown and start your own firm, and all the self-doubt that came with that. But he guided me through that, guided me through a divorce and creating a new relationship on the other side. And it's just been, he's the one that said, hey, you should write a book. And I said, me? Who's going to want to listen to me? And then all of a sudden, now we have a book that people actually are inspired by. And it's humbling to me,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, what I really get more than anything else, Alan, is this business, Kaiser Institute, my book, none of it's about me. Nobody cares about me. People care about this message. This message of success through service, I think, is the greatest business principle of all time. And again, it's been articulated by all the greats throughout history, but for some reason, it's not embedded in the business culture. And so that's what I want to change. I envision a world where people selflessly help each other, regardless of personal gain, not because it's the right thing to do, although I think they should do that because it's the right thing to do, but because they really fundamentally get that it's in their own personal best interest to do so. That's what I'm trying to show people. It's like success through service. Selflessness is selfish. Selflessness is self-centered. It's like the more you help other people, the more it comes back.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to teach. My mom called me this morning, and my mom is the precious. If you read it, you'll read about her in the book, but man, my mom is a saint. And she said, Jonathan, I'm just concerned because you talk about wealth a lot, and really this is about helping other people for the sake of helping other people. I said, Mom, that's not my message. My message is not do good because it's good. That message is already out there. If you don't already know that, where have you been, right? I'm not a preacher. I'm not a minister. I am a business leader in a ruthless, predatorial business, saying you don't have to be ruthless to win. You can succeed by helping others succeed. You can create financial success by helping other people achieve financial success. That's my message.
Yeah.
Right? It's very core. It's like it's self-serving to be selfless. And that it's even hard to say because it doesn't come off the tongue very easy, but that's what I fundamentally believe, and that's what I'm trying to teach.
Nice. My mom would have just said, okay, dear.
My mom's so
and
sweet.
moved on to another topic.
She kind of did. I felt bad.
So I want to thank you, first of all, for all you do for the community. I'm looking forward to the barbecue, bringing the whole family this time.
Awesome.
All three of us.
That's awesome.
Second, for what you've done for anyone who decides to read this book, which I highly encourage everyone to do. And finally, for sharing your time with us on episode 1 of whatever we're going to call this podcast.
Man, it's my honor. We should brainstorm some topics.
We really should.
Do you have any ideas to date?
Well, so one of the questions I was going to ask you, which maybe something will come out of this, is who is an actor that you wish was still around? Because you brought up a Farley commentary
I love
earlier.
Chris Farley,
so
man.
maybe there's something Van Down by the River or something related to, like, who was too young to die, like
if
a
this
Farley.
was called the Chris Farley podcast, I would do it every day. Chris Farley is my man.
I know. I hear you.
I kind of think of myself as a little bit of Chris Farley.
You got a little Farley.
I got a little bit of that in me. But in all candor, I mean, Alan, you are an example of what I'm talking about. The whole point of this is I don't have the market captured. I'm not some genius when it comes to service. I'm just the one banging the drum, right? I mean, I wouldn't even be here without you. With friends like you are the reason why Kaiser's successful. And so this is a community thing. This is about all of us. This is about the collective good. This is about the community coming together to help all of us be more successful, where we're working together versus against each other. That's what we all really want, I think. And I think that's possible. But we have to get past ourselves for one little second and remember that, like, it's not all about us.
Yeah.
And that other people have needs. And other people are people. And reach across the aisle. And, like, I'm so sick of seeing all the politics in today's world. Everybody's just at war with everyone. I'm sick of it. It's like, can we all just remember that we're all human and we all make mistakes? And part of what makes America so great is our ability to have differing opinions. I'm an independent because I can't stand the polar sides.
Yeah.
I just love everyone, right? And I think that's a mindset that the world needs more of. And I think the more that you can love and serve people, the more it comes back, and you're the embodiment of that. So thanks for having me on the show. It was a surprise to learn that I'm the inaugural. It's a big honor because you've been a friend of mine for a long time. And, thank you to your crew here for all that they've done in making this possible.
Right on. Appreciate it, Jonathan. Thank you very
pleasure,
much.
my man.